Okay, so we are working on Big Java Early Object book, and this is the part 3 of chapter 2. We are going to be talking about constructing objects. So I talked earlier into the other videos that every time we want to use a class, we have to create an object of the class before we are able to use it. So we're going to go more detail on it. So the example that we have here is we're looking at some frames on, let's say, a canvas or a wall or something. So first thing first, we have to construct the object. So somebody has to build this picture frame for me before I use it. So I'm going to go back and forth with picture frames as an object that somebody created a picture frame with different sizes. If I wanted to have custom made, I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to make them, give them exact measurement, and I'm going to create that custom picture frame. And the book is talking about rectangular, that is a more generic things than the picture frame. So first thing first, I have to have a picture frame before I do something with it, which in this case, I'm going to put it on the wall. And of course, I'm going to put some pictures in it and then put it on the wall. All right. So let's just start with that one. So when I say frame or a picture frame, we have some idea what the picture frame is as a class, but we cannot actually do anything with that because we need the actual object. So I cannot say picture frame or I don't know, go put a picture frame on a wall. So I have to identify what picture frame we're talking about. It has to be constructed. The picture frame has some ideas. We kind of know what does it look like. It has some borders, it has some stuff in it, but the actual picture frame that I'm going to put it on the wall has to exist. So object is existence of a class. So in here, we're going to be talking about a way that we're going to define our class. So first, we're going to have a name for it. Then we're going to have a data for it. And then we're going to have the methods for it. So data and methods, and of course, the name. Remember that the class name starts with capital letter. The variables start with the lowercase letter. We are using camel case, meaning that every other word is going to be uppercase. So if I have a picture frame, what properties does this picture frame has? What is the data? So I pick up a picture frame, or I want to go tell somebody to build my picture frame. So I have to give them some kind of a specification. So that specification is going to be my data. So what they're going to be, what kind of a width, length, what color, the size of the border. Sometimes I might be identifying the type of wood that I want to use, or a plastic, or a metal, or aluminum, something, the material that I want to use around it. And for this case that I'm asking somebody to even install the picture frames, let's say we want to do it in our classroom or in my office, and somebody's going to take care of all of these things. So I want to put one of my awards or the project that I did for Bill Clinton in the state of Arkansas on the wall. So I'm going to give them the and along with my degree, let's say I want to put those things in the wall. So I'm going to give them the measurement. I'm going to give them how thick do I want for the borders. And then I tell them exactly where I want it to be hanged. So this one is going to be how far from the top, how far from the left. This one, same thing, width, height, and all those specifications that we want. So that's going to define my picture frames. And of course, if I want them to put a picture in it, then I might need the name of the picture or the file that I'm going to put the picture in there. So these are my data. Now the question is, what kind of a behavior, what can this picture frame do? What can we do with the picture frame? So if I have a picture frame, what can I do with it? Give it a few seconds to think about it. So with the picture frame, what can we do? Maybe we can paint the borders. So it is black, I want it brown, or if it's white, I want it gray. So I can ask them to paint it, either when they're building it or after they build it. We can ask them to add a picture. So when I say add a picture, that means I have to have a picture. So that means I have to have a data as a picture in my data section for them to know what picture to put in there. So if I have 3 picture frame, I should have 3 pictures. Either I'm going to number them 1, 2, 3, or I'm going to have the name for them, my dog picture, my wife's picture, my daughter's picture. So those has to be in my data so they know what to add. So I'm just differentiating between the data and the methods. Again, we are not worried about these things too much. We're going to come back and build classes. We're just identifying what they are. So in this case, we are talking about X, Y. We're talking about the rectangle, okay? We're talking about rectangular. So we need the XY coordinates. The XY coordinates is the top left corner of each rectangular. We're going to need the width and the height. So that's the way we're going to create it in the computer. Remember, in the programming, when we're talking about the object is going to exist in the memory. It's a memory location. So in real life, it's something that I can touch and feel. In computer side, it is going to be a memory space that we can address it. So we are looking at these 3. So X, Y of these, the X is coming this way, Y coming from the top. Same thing goes with this one, X and Y, X and Y. So we have 3 different rectangular objects. Each one of them is going to have different data. They're all coming in from rectangular class. That means they all look and feel the same, but they don't contain the same data, and they are different objects. So I have a physical picture frame, and I have 3 of them. So if I look at this one, comparing to what I had over here, the first one says X5, Y10. So I am looking at this one. This is my X5, and this is my Y10. And the width is 20, and the length is 30. Then I go to the last one here. It says X is 45. That's my X, 45. Y is 0. There is no Y for it. The width is 30. And the height is 20. Then we go to this one, X 35, Y 30. So from here to here is 35. From here to here is 30. And then 20 and 20. So that's the way we define it in our programs. The object is existence of classes. So if you think about some condominiums or talking about townhouses, we have a blueprint, and then they come and build all these houses that they look exactly the same thing. So the class in this case is a blueprint. How are we going to build this house? Then they take that blueprint and they build actual house. And they build multiple of houses with the same floor plan. That means if you look at them from outside or inside, everything is identical. They have the same number of bedrooms. You go upstairs, it's 2-bedroom upstairs. You go to, in this case, the first floor is just a garage. The second floor is going to be, I don't know, living room and kitchen. And the third one is going to be 2-bedroom. They all have the same blueprint. They're all going to feel the same. So if I go from one house to the other one, they all look the same. But the data that they have is going to be different. So maybe the owner of them is different. The color of my bedroom is different than the color of bedroom of my neighbor. Maybe I change the kitchen in a different way. I mean, meaning that the cabinets are going to look different. I can have different furniture, but the blueprint of them, they're exactly the same thing. We're going to create different objects of the same blueprint. Okay, so we need to build these objects. So in real life, we're going to have some builders to build the houses. We have manufacturing to build cars. So they will build it. In programming, we have the word new that we're going to be using, and we're going to be calling this method. Okay, so this method has the same name as the class. So I have the class rectangular. I'm going to have a method inside of that class that's called rectangular. This is called constructor. So when the new is going to create an object of a rectangular of type class, and it's going to return its address. And the parameters 5, 10, 20, and 30 is going to set the X, Y, width, and length to those values. So the constructor, again, has the same name as the class. They may have parameters, or they may not have any parameters. So when they don't have any parameters, we're going to set them to the default value. That's called default constructor. So if I don't pass any parameter here, my default value may be 0, 0, 0, 0. So I'm going to have a rectangular of size 0, 0, width and length. That's going to be at corner of 0, 0, which is basically one dot. It's not going to show anything. So when this one, and I want to mention this again, the class is rectangular. We will create an object of type rectangular. And then we're going to put the address of this object to a variable. Now this variable box contains the address of this new object that we are creating. So a constructor without any parameter is called default constructor, and default constructor is going to have default values. And we're going to talk more about it when we get to build our own classes. Another thing that we have to mention here is the constructor is going to happen only when you're building the object. It is a method, but you cannot call it again. It's going to happen only when you're building the method. Okay, let's go over some of these things. Again, if you need more time, put a pause on it. If you are faster than me, fast forward. I generally give about a minute in this, and you may or may not need a minute, or you might need more time. You might need to do some research. What I'm hoping is you're taking some notes during the lecture and for yourself, and then you can refer to your notes to come up with this. So How do you construct a square with center 100 and 100? Remember, we're talking about the 100 and 100 as a center, not the corner. The length is 20. Remember, this is a square. So think about it. I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about it and write it down somewhere. Okay, we're going to be moving on. Again, you need more time, put a pause on it, and then you can finish it on your own pace. Next question, it says, initialize the variable box and box2 with 2 rectangulars that touch each other. So the rectangulars are going to touch each other. So you can decide if they touch on the side or on the, let's say, bottom of one is the top of the other one, or they're going to be side by side. You can decide that, and you're going to create it. Again, I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about this. So we're moving on to the next question. You need more time, push pause on it, take your time, don't rush yourself. Next question, it says the get width method returns the width of a rectangular object. What does the following statement print? So remember here, we are executing 3 things. One is we're creating a new rectangular. We're going to get the width of that new rectangular. It is a default constructor, doesn't have no parameters. And then we're going to print it. Println is going to print and it's going to go to the next line. Again, I'm going to give you 1 minute to think about this, jot something down. Okay, moving on. Number 24, it says a PrintStream class has a constructor whose argument is the name of a file. How do you construct a PrintStream object? Remember the creation of an object with the construction argument of output.txt. So this might be a little weird because you haven't seen it yet, but that's okay. Put something down and then we can talk about it. Okay, moving on. You need more time, just push pause on it. And the next question is going to ask to save this one that you created over here. So how do you save this object? Remember, when you're creating a new object, if you don't save it somewhere, you cannot reach it again. So you build a house, you don't give me any address on it, I don't know how to get to it. I'm going to give you just 30 seconds on this one. Okay, doke. So we are going to be answering these questions. Hopefully you've done some stuff. We can go over it. Again, in any of these lecture videos, you have any questions, write it down. Let's talk about it either in class, in DQs, anywhere you can.